everyone, and welcome to another episode of Web Talks. And today we have Pritesh Vegad. It's our partner. We met with him just a few months ago, but we had a very interesting discussions over e-commerce business overall and e-commerce development. He is a director of sales at Magneto IT Solutions. So, Pritesh, I guess it would be great that you can introduce more about yourself.
Hi, so I'm Pritesh. I'm a director at Magneto IT Solutions. We're an e-commerce digital company. I'm based in the UK, and I basically run the UK European arm for Magneto, a company that's 17 years old and based in, headquartered in India. So we've got two centers in India, one in Ahmedabad and one in Pune. The team is approximately 200 and growing. So the guys in India are constantly recruiting people, right? So recruitment in India is very different to recruitment in the UK and Europe. So the team's quite large. The team's split between different technologies. So we work with Shopify, Shopify Plus. We do quite a lot of work with Magento, Hyvä, Adobe, and there's other technologies that we work with, so more from like a JavaScript, so custom development projects using sort of React, Node, and then we've got a very strong mobile apps team as well. So we work across lots of different technologies, platforms, etc. Teams quite experienced. UK team is relatively quite new, quite small at the moment, but we're growing. The aim is to really sort of build a team in the UK, and the key focus for us here in this part of the world is Shopify Plus, especially B2B, but also Magento, Hyvä, Adobe. So they're the core three sort of pillars that we sort of work across in the UK and European region.
Okay, thanks, Pritesh. And I remember you told me that you were specifically assigned to start this UK direction for your company and overall Europe. So can you tell us more about insights, challenges, so how you gather the team to start a new direction as a IT director of the sales?
Yeah, so we've been in the UK and the European market for about 3 years now. And initially, I was brought on board to really sort of drive the business in UK and Europe, right? But it was like starting from scratch. So, we had a couple of little clients, but nothing major. And the key challenges, like with any business, is getting it moving, getting it off the ground, really sort of developing that network, getting into the ecosystem so that people start to know who the brand is, who Magneto is. And if you look at Magneto in the South Asian market, in the Middle East, specifically sort of Saudi Arabia, very strong, right? So people know who Magneto are. North American market, that's been quite well established for a number of years now. But UK and Europe is slightly different in terms of we're starting out from the beginning, right? So my key thing there was to really sort of get the brand there, go to network events, and try and get Magneto into the face of the UK businesses. We started off going to sort of smaller events, little local meetups, handing out business cards. We were doing a lot of online digital marketing through our website, and we created UK version of the website as well, right? So that sort of gave us a stronger online presence, right? And we've got the experience, we've got the expertise, we've got the team in place, right? And it was really to sort of drive sales within this region, right?
And what marketing channels you're using for the start? Like you mentioned networking events, yes, but what else? Just when you start from scratch, it's interesting how you approach this exactly, like online presence.
There was a lot of outbound marketing as well, right? So sending emails or LinkedIn marketing, so getting connections, sort of building up like a personal brand here in the UK, right? So people, when they think of Magneto, they'll say, "Oh yeah, go speak to Pritesh about that." So it was really sort of trying to build that trust and credibility with people here in the UK, right? So, but it was a challenge at the beginning because we would get organic leads coming onto the website. So when the lead comes through, there's probably 3 to 10 agencies that sort of retailers, like wholesalers reach out to, right? So it's a very, very competitive market. So how do we differentiate ourselves from all the other companies and all the other offshore companies? Even though we've got a base here in the UK, people assume that we're just offshore, right? But that's not the case, right? So our differentiator really was that, we've got this hybrid delivery model, right? So we've got a team here in the UK, we've got a team in India who are very technical. They know what they're doing, but it was building that bridge, that filling that gap between the UK, Europe, and India. And what we quickly found was the clients in the UK were very open to that. So the discussions that I had with people was that, like offshoring, there's communication issues, there's cultural issues, there's a whole number of challenges because it is very different from a culture perspective. The guys communicate well, but sometimes there's stuff that's lost in translation. And that's where building the team in the UK has helped fill that void. So now when we go on meetings, we've got a joint team, we understand the requirements. I'm from an Indian background, right? I've got Indian heritage. So I understand where the guys are coming from. I understand where the client's coming from. And I can quickly spot where things might be going off track a little bit, or there's a misunderstanding, or there's a bit of miscommunication. So that's where the bridge between the UK and India has come really handy, right? And we've been able to secure some great projects, and people are open to it. We're not for everyone, right? So if you want a local UK based agency, we're not that one, right? We have a mix of a delivery model. We've got team here, we've got team in India, we've got team in America, right? So it's about having that mixed team hybrid delivery approach, right? But the flip side is that our hourly rates are a lot lower as well, right? So people are they want to be competitive, they want to look for agencies where they can get a good price for some of the projects, right? Because we've been up against some companies where they've quoted, say, 100,000, but ours has been sort of 50, 60,000. And that's where we can bring the cost down. However, it's not for everyone, right? And I'm sure you've had the same experience there as well.
Yeah, Pritesh. And how can you describe UK market, e-commerce market right now? Like, what are the tendencies you can spot on, because you've been doing this for 3 years now, right? So, like, where it going, right?
So the UK market, I like from our perspective anyway. I don't know about anyone else, right? But it started off quite slow, a slow start to the year, right? And the leads weren't coming in, the people weren't really engaging. There's a lot of stuff happening in the economy here as well, right? So and in America, etc. So I think there was a lot of different external factors that were influencing decisions. So it started off quite slow, but then slowly it started to pick up. And what we've seen is that the UK market, there's a very big focus on Shopify at the moment. Now, Shopify's marketing is brilliant. We've got people coming to us and saying we want Shopify. However, we'll always say, look, let's take a step back. Let's have a look at what you're looking, what you want to do. Let's see what the future goals are of the business, and then let's see what the technology maps better to what you want, right? But however, we've got a lot of clients coming to us saying that they want Shopify. We've got existing clients who are on Adobe or WordPress or some custom website. They want to move over to Shopify, and that's not just B2C or D2C, it's B2B business as well. So Shopify seems like there's a big opportunity for Shopify in the UK. There's always been, but I think there's more of a shift towards migrating to Shopify at the moment, right?
Maybe let's stop a little bit on Shopify here. It's interesting to learn why exactly it's going like this, and why this popularity of Shopify became so much obvious right now. Why clients coming to you and asking, "Hey, we want Shopify, we want to move to Shopify." What they offer right now?
I think one of them is cost, right? Shopify have done really well to develop a platform where ongoing development costs are lower, yeah. And in terms of managing the web stores, if you got someone that's a little bit tech savvy, they can ultimately manage the Shopify store. They don't have to worry about the hosting. They don't really have to worry about the maintenance side of it, the support, patches, security. Obviously, that's all managed by Shopify, right? So I think that's a plus point for a lot of companies, but it's not for everyone. It's for people who have got products, they want to just sell online, and what we're seeing is that it's more geared towards people who've got sort of like a smaller set of SKUs as well. And that's where we're seeing that people using Shopify, because we say a lot of the times it's Magento moving to Shopify. And Magento, again, like and I know, right? Magento can be very poor in performance, can be slow, can be sluggish. You need a really good server setup. You need to get Varnish installed. You need development support. There's a whole load of stuff that comes with Magento. However, there is a market for Magento as well, right? So mid-market enterprise, especially with Hyvä coming onto the scene, yeah, and they've basically transformed and reformed the Magento and what people think of Magento as well. So So
What
it
about
really depends,
Hyvä?
right?
What is so interesting about this right now? I mean, it's a theme for Magento, right? And why it's blossoming? What the update they brought in, so now it's very
Purely it's like
well.
performance, like from an SEO perspective, it's fast, it's like straight out of the box. So your Google core web vitals, you're guaranteed to be, 80s, like 90s even. Whereas with the Luma theme, there's a lot of work that you got to do, right? You got to minimize the, CSS, and there's a whole load of stuff that you got to do to get the Magento store working optimal, right? Whereas with Hoover, because they use sort of Alpine.js and Tailwind CSS, that's opened the doors to a lot faster front end theme. Yeah, that works well with Magento. So I think that has basically given merchants more confidence, right, that they can achieve what they want with Magento. And because some companies want open source, right? They don't want it because they've got a lot of customizations. They want to sort of build for the future. They want to own, the platform that they're working on. So Hoover has transformed that, and there's Hoover themes. They've even introduced checkout, which has made the checkout more user friendly. To help with abandoned carts, etc. Right. So there's a whole load of stuff that they've brought, which sits on top of Magento, which has improved the way Magento works. Right. So I think that's been the key thing, and they're doing amazing. Right. So I was speaking to one of the guys from Hoover, and they were saying to me that 4 out of 5 Magento stores in the Netherlands use Hoover now as a front end theme. And when we build our Magento stores, we use Hoover as well. So it doesn't make any sense to go down and build using Luma, for example.
And what about the statistics overall in European market, or maybe specifically UK market, about the technology right now? What has been used by e-commerce businesses?
So I think Shopify's got probably the biggest market share right
Oh,
now
really?
in the UK market. I'm not sure about the particulars in terms of percentages, right? But Shopify obviously seems to be leading that, and again, these are stats from Shopify, right? They're saying that they're closing 40% more projects than any other platform out there, right? But that's what I think Shopify. I think Magento is definitely making a comeback. Being to meet Magento in the UK was fantastic. Massive turnout, really good community. Meet Magento Netherlands is coming up in November again. Very strong community over there. Paris, there was a community there. So I think Magento, there's definitely a market for Magento, and I think there always will be, right? Because I think there were some concerns that once Adobe came along, Magento might sort of disappear, etc. But I think even Adobe have realized that that there is a market for Magento, and it needs to keep going, right? Because there's a lot of merchants who are using Magento, especially now with Hoover on the scene as well. There's even more of a stronger need for Magento in the ecosystem.
And when a client approaches you, a new lead approaches you, so how would you suggest a technology? What do you put on the list of analysis just to identify what technology to offer right now? Shopify, Magento, Adobe, maybe headless CMS, e-commerce CMS. Yeah, what would be that choice?
I think there's a lot of I think first of all it depends what type of client it is, right? Is it B2C, is it D2C, is it B2B, right? Understanding what if it's B2B client, like what ERP are they using? Maybe in the future, do they want to go into different markets, different countries? Like what is it that they want to offer, right? The other thing that comes into the mix is whether they're open to open source, right? Or would they be happy with going through a SaaS-based model, right? Where you're looking at something like Shopify. There's Adobe as well, right? Which is really strong in the market at the moment as well. So it really depends on the type of client, the size of the client, and what they're looking for and what their future aspirations are, right? So we've got one client who came to us, and they're a B2B client, right? So they were considering BigCommerce and then Shopify Plus, basically. So the B2B features are only available in Shopify Plus. And then after doing sort of discovery with them, really understanding the initial discovery, right? Before we start the project, we were just like looking at the requirements, looking at what they want to achieve. They're currently only supplied to one country, but in the future, they're looking at expanding and broadening their business across different markets. And then obviously looking at the ERP side of it. So they were using MS Dynamics, Business Central. So putting all those things in the mix. And then what we decided as a team, us and the client, that they came to us with Shopify, but then obviously Shopify Plus was the right platform for them because they've got a certain set of products that they want to sell. They want to launch into different markets. You can do that with Shopify Markets, and then the integration with the ERP. So that all of that was feasible, right? So from our perspective, that was the platform that we decided to go from. And Shopify have got some good B2B features available as well. And we are doing some customization so that the platform works with the ERP as well. But on the whole, the use cases we were able to meet the use cases that the business required with Shopify Plus. They didn't want to. We did also propose the Magento route as well, right? But that's something that they weren't interested in because they wanted to move away from sort of like open source, etc.
Comparing Magento to Shopify, like before we heard it like this, that Shopify is rather for the small business to start with, quick start, easy to launch, right? And then at some point you might switch to Magento, or Magento is a big commerce for big e-commerce seller. Like we're comparing here, if we just have this kind of metaphor, it's like a restaurant versus a bistro, whereas the restaurant is a Magento. But can you agree to this right now? Is it like the same, or they have their niche like in the commerce, or still it's kind of already changing?
Yeah, I think native Shopify works really well, right? But as soon as you start wanting to introduce more sort of custom features, more complexity in the site, that's when companies, merchants start thinking, right, we're not going to be able to achieve what we want, right, with Shopify. That's when they start thinking that they want to move to a different platform, right? So Magento often comes up, and it's one of these things like, Magento is a very good platform. You can customize as you wish. You can really build out a store the way you want it. However, with Shopify, there are limitations. It's a closed platform. There's certain things that you can and cannot do. You'd have to build custom apps as well to make sure the store is working as efficiently as possible. So both platforms have their pros and cons, but it's just understanding. And what I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen, it's all swings and roundabouts, right? So they're on Shopify, they go Magento. They're on Magento, they want to go Shop. They want to go Adobe. It's all swings. There comes a point where they feel like the platform's not going to serve them anymore, and they want to go down a different route. And we see that all the time, right? So, and then a lot of the time it comes down to the customer service that these companies provide, right? Yeah, because the clients get very frustrated when they're not receiving the level of customer service from the actual companies that provide the platforms. That's when they start thinking, right, we need to move, we need to go somewhere else, basically.
Okay, Pritesh. So I really encourage everyone to reach out to Pritesh for consultation. If you are eager to start a business, with e-commerce business, or you have a current online shop and you are thinking about technology switch, there is the guy who you should go to first to discuss. And
Thank you.
Pritesh, I really enjoyed this conversation. We discussed e-commerce market. We discussed e-commerce technologies. Let's keep contact with you, and I
Yeah.
wish you a great day.
Yeah, you too. All the best. See you
Thanks
later.
for coming.